It looks counterintuitive at the outset that a country like the UAE would champion things like renewable energy, net zero, climate security, but it's actually our way of demonstrating that we need what seems like a counterintuitive approach at this moment. So at the 30,000 foot level, obviously our vision for all of us, particularly post-pandemic, is that we need to increase global prosperity, global security through climate action.
And we're seeing a lot of ag tech companies now set base here because the UAE is really trying to change the blueprint of the country. We've been a country that's been very much about consuming food which is imported, but now we're moving towards, again, this is part of our sustainability journey, and saying let's focus a little bit more locally, let's reduce our carbon footprint in our food systems. Being able to source food locally is not only on the carbon side better, but it's also on the health side it's better because it's fresher, it's more nutritious, and it's actually tastes better as well. So.
So let's look at early 2020. There was only a handful of major economies with net zero announcements. And now we're at 70% of global GDP being covered by net zero pledges. And with the UAE, you have the first Arab country, you have the first OPEC country that made that commitment. And we've all seen the recent announcements that show the positive reinforcement of that message of everybody getting on the climate action train. And of course, we need more than that. And of course, none of this happened by magic. There's been some very serious meetings, including in the UAE, about how to be able to make good on those pledges. We don't just make these pledges as part of a PR blitz. We actually have to be able to deliver on them.
By midday, we got in a taxi and we started driving, and the interpreter said, there were 3 sort of front lines, and the interpreter was on the phone, and he just sort of turned around with this big smile on his face and he said, "Oh, the Taliban have just come through the first of the 3 lines." And we sort of looked at each other, and the taxi driver said, "I'm scared, I don't want to go any further." And we said, "Okay, that's fine." And then I went back to the hotel, and I was sitting there doing work that afternoon. And then my photographer and I decided we were going to go to a kebab cafe that we sort of went to every night. And there was just nobody on the street. It was just a ghost. And we sort of sat there, and this cafe normally plays, a lot of music and television, and it was just dead silent. And we sort of looked at each other and we went, "We need to leave. This is not good." The economic situation is really, really something that's terrible, and something I see as getting worse and worse sort of by the day. And so many people unable to work, so many people afraid to leave their house. The prices of just general buying of bread, buying rice have gone up drastically. Just sort of the amount of people just asking you for money, asking you for help. I mean, Kabul's always had a lot of beggars, but the degree to which it's happening now is really just, it's insane.